Welcome to Dose with Grace. I hope you're doing well and taking very good care of your health. Today, I'm so delighted to bring to you chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. Chapter 12 is the last chapter in the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. If you go back to the chapter 6 video, you will realize from chapter 7 to chapter 12 are the middle 6 videos, the middle 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, in which Sri Krishna himself has said that he is given the Gupta Gyan, the secret knowledge and the essence of knowing the Godhead, the essence and the supreme consciousness, which is also later on in modern times called as Krishna consciousness. You may not want to call it with the name Krishna because of what religion you follow or what faith you have. But just by listening to Bhagavad Gita, no matter what religion you are from, no matter what faith you believe in, no matter what rituals you perform, you can continue performing those rituals, yet by just listening to Bhagavad Gita, this conversation of questions and answers of a person, a normal human being talking to God, and God replying to those questions and giving so much knowledge, wisdom and clarity to live life, to fully conduct ourselves through the personality of Godhead. This narration is coming. That is a sort of a guideline to all of us, regardless of what religion we are from, regardless of what faith we belong to, what kind of systems and rituals we perform, and what age group we are in. So if you really want to have any doubts about whether or not you should believe in this or you should follow these videos, please go back to my initial video which says who and what, why and who should read Bhagavad Gita. That is the video I initiated this into this Bhagavad Gita, and with the blessings of God, today I've reached chapter 12, and I think this has only due to the blessings of the Supreme Consciousness itself. And I think all of you who have been following these videos are also fortunate to be in the grace of that Supreme Consciousness. And I have been able to create these videos also because of the grace of that Supreme Consciousness. So let's all go to that by chanting these two Maha Mantras before we start our chapter 12, which is the last of the middle chapters of Bhagavad Gita, which I call as the most revered and treasured knowledge within even Bhagavad Gita. It's the meat of Bhagavad Gita. And we are reaching the chapter 12, which is the Bhakti Yoga. So let's get into that state in which we can receive this knowledge by chanting these two Maha Mantras with our full devotion and heart. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you for joining back. Let me start with the one-line essence of the last chapter, which was a very big video, but trust me, that video needed every single second, every single minute that was there in it, because that is the way it could have been explained. What is 11th chapter? Nishkam Bhav, doing our duty without any mindset towards the result orientation. Continuous practice, uninterrupted continuous practice of remembering God. Practicing detachment, from the fruits of our labor, just doing our labor, doing our efforts, doing our lovely efforts in the name and service and love of God. No hatred, no dislike towards any other person, because knowing is this essence that if I am having God within me, so is the other person. So deep down, we are all the essence of God. So how can I hate another person? With that, let's come to the chapter 12, which is the Bhakti Yoga. So let's start the chapter 12. I'm really excited. इस प्रकार भगवान के वचनों को सुनकर अर्जुन बोले, हे मनमोहन, जो अनन्य प्रेम भक्तिजन उस पूर्वत्र प्रकार से निरंतर आपके भजन ध्यान में लगे हुए आप सद्गुण रूप परमेश्वर को अति श्रेष्ठ भाव से उपासते हैं और जो अविनाशी सच्चिदानंदन निराकार को ही उपासते हैं, उन दोनों प्रकार के भक्तों में अति उत्तम योग वेत्ता कौन है? Now, in this chapter, Arjun is trying to understand, because he's completely, in the last chapter, as you will listen to it, you will realize when Arjun sees that Vishwaroop of Shri Krishna, he is completely mesmerized. He is completely surrendered. He says, आपको बारंबार नमस्कार नमस्कार नमस्कार, आपको मेरे आगे से नमस्कार, मेरी सब दिशाओं से नमस्कार. He falls down in the feet of Krishna and he tells him to show his Chaturabhuj Roop. And even the Chaturabhuj Roop of Shri Krishna, the four-armed roop of Krishna, is also very rare to be seen by anyone. And Shri Krishna has told in that chapter towards the end that only through bhakti you are able to realize and see my this manifested rupa. So here Shri Arjuna is asking, जो अनन्य प्रेमी भक्तजन इस पूर्वात प्रकार से निरंतर आपको भजन ध्यान में लगे हुए आपके सगुण रूप परमेश्वर को अति श्रेष्ठ भाव से उपासते हैं और जो अविनाशी सच्चिदानंदन निराकार को ही उपासते हैं, उन दोनों प्रकार के भक्तों में अति उत्तम योग वेत्ता कौन है? Now Arjun has seen the Vishwaroop of Shri Krishna. He has seen the Chaturbhuj Roop of Shri Krishna, and there are many people who have not seen it. So he says, who is more capable of going to realize you? The one who looks at the Sagun Roop, the one with the gunas, all the gunas, and the like the Murti Roop, the form that we put in temples, one who prays to that, or the one who prays to your light in within their heart. So there is no rupa that they pray to, but they pray to you from within the heart. They pray to your nirakar roop, which means there is no akar, there is no form, to your formless roop. So which one is more higher and more closer to finding union with you? The one who prays to your Murti Roop, a form, or one who prays to your formless Rupa? इस प्रकार अर्जुन के पूछने पर श्री कृष्ण भगवान बोले, हे अर्जुन, मेरे में मन को एकाग्र करके निरंतर मेरे भजन ध्यान में लगे हुए जो भक्तजन अतिशय श्रेष्ठ श्रद्धा से युक्त हुए मुझ सगुण रूप परमेश्वर को भजते हैं, वह मेरे को योगियों में भी अति उत्तम योगी मान है. अर्थात उनको मैं अतिशय मानता हूँ. So see, we may have this confusion that there are people who pray to God through closing their eyes and not in any form, and then there are some who pray to a form of God. So here Shri Krishna is answering in the shloka number 2 of chapter 12 of Bhakti Yoga, of devotion yoga. He is saying very clearly, Arjuna, one who puts their mind in me, one who makes their mind one with me, and who chants my name every day with greatest of the devotion. They pray to my form. Those are more closer to, they are more loved by me, they are more recognized by me. Manya hai means they are more recognized by me than the yogis also. That is, I call them the highest of the highest, closest to me. और जो पुरुष इंद्रियों के समुदाय को अच्छी प्रकार वश में करके मन बुद्धि से परे सर्वव्यापी अकथनीय स्वरूप और सदा एक रस रहने वाले नित्य अचल निराकार अविनाशी सच्चिदानंदन ब्रह्म को निरंतर एक ही भाव से ध्यान करते हुए उपासते हैं, वे संपूर्ण भूतों के हित में रत हुए और सब में समान भाव वाले योगी भी मेरे को ही प्राप्त होते हैं. Now he is saying, on the other side, this type of devotees. So this is one type of devotees. Now another type of devotees is explaining, those who have achieved complete control through yoga. What we achieve, control over our senses. We look at things, but we are not enticed by them. We listen to things, but we don't get affected by them. We taste things, but we don't indulge too much into our tastes. We speak through the sense of godliness. We speak through the sense of consciousness and not what we want. So this is how we control our senses. And through touch, we do not get enticed. We don't get into sense pleasures. So that is what he's saying. The one who has controlled their senses and man buddhi se pare, and who have won over their feelings, who have mastered their feelings, those who have mastered their mind, nitya achal, who are constantly in equanimity, निराकार अविनाशी सच्चिदानंदन ब्रह्म को निरंतर एक ही भाव से ध्यान करते हुए उपासते हैं. Those who pray to this eternal, ongoing truth, bliss and consciousness, and not a form, but this truth, bliss and consciousness called God, and they pray to it continuously without any interruptions, and who pray for the benefit of everyone, they also reach me. किंतु उन सच्चिदानंदन निराकार ब्रह्म में आसक्त हुए चित्त वाले पुरुषों के साधन में कलेश अर्थात परिश्रम विशेष है, क्योंकि देह अभिमानियों से अव्यक्त विषयक गति दुख पूर्वक प्राप्ति की जा सकती है. अर्थात जब तक शरीर में अभिमान रहता है तब तक शुद्ध सच्चिदानंद निराकार ब्रह्म में स्थिति होना कठिन है. So Shri Krishna is saying, in both cases, both type of people reach me. They are equally able to get me. However, he is saying, to be able to pray to something that you cannot see, to be able to pray to something that is formless, and to continuously pray to it without having any breaks, without having any sort of doubts in your mind, the process of it is extremely difficult. And why is it difficult? Because people in general have a tendency of ego. So he says, till the time there is ego in the body, the sense of identity. Ego is not just having the bad thing. Ego is also sense of identity. मैं हूँ. When we say I am praying, we don't say we all are praying. When we are praying, don't we have this ego that I want to offer water to Shiva? I want to offer water to Shivling. Do we ever say, okay, you offer water, it's okay, I will just come and see it? I'm very interested, I want to offer. That ahankar is there, that I am praying. I need to pray to get the benefit. I will get the benefit of bhakti because I am praying. So even that ahankar is there. Similarly, that is a very basic level of ahankar, but then it can grow to any level. That look at me, what a dutiful person I am, what a dutiful child I am, what a successful man I am, how devoted I am to God, how spiritual I am, how clean I am, how rich I am, how intelligent I am, how well read I am, how well educated. There are so many layers and layers and layers of ahankar I have. Some people have ahankar of how beautiful I am, how energetic I am, how young I look, how old, how thin I look, how smart I look. It's like endless list. I'm like you can see around yours, you can see within yourself. Today, if you write down a list of what do you think you're good at, you will see all of that is ahankar. So that's what Shri Krishna is saying. जब तक शरीर में अहंकार है, till the time we have this sense of ego, till then purity, truth, bliss and consciousness, supreme consciousness and formless truth, bliss and truth, consciousness and bliss cannot be found in unseen. It is very difficult because our body is full of ego. This body is full of ego. It is, even if it will have very low level of ego, it will have some ego, and that with even a trace of ego, it is difficult to achieve that purity. And therefore, without that purity, it is very difficult to be able to continuously practice this. That you cannot see something, but you totally believe in it. You're fully devoted to it, and you are fully able to control your senses in its love and in devotion. So that's what Shri Krishna is saying. It is very, very difficult. He's not saying it's impossible, but he's saying it's very difficult. और जो मेरे परायण हुए भक्तजन संपूर्ण कर्मों को मेरे में अर्पण करके मुझ सद्गुण रूप परमेश्वर को ही तैल धारा के सदृश अनन्य ध्यान योग से निरंतर चिंतन करते हुए भजते हैं. So here Shri Krishna is saying, but one who is invested in me and put all of their actions that they do, karmas means actions, any action that they do in their life from morning to evening, every day, every week, every year, throughout their life, if they devote it to me, if they dedicate every single action to me and do my form, if they have a small altar in the house, in whatever form they do it, that form, they dedicate it to that form, and they, for example, they get up in the morning and they remember that form and they say, thank you for blessing me with a beautiful day. Start with your day, do every activity of your day remembering that form and dedicate it to it, whether it is a success, whether it is a failure, whether it is something good happened, somebody praised them, they say it is because of you. Something happened magically wonderful in their life that day, they say it is dedicated to you. So that humility is continuously maintained throughout the day and therefore throughout the days, throughout the life. तैल धारा के सदृश अनन्य ध्यान रोग से निरंतर चिंतन करते हुए भजते हैं. So right at the back of your mind, if continuously this is the thought that everything is happening because of this supreme consciousness, everything is happening with the virtue of supreme consciousness, everything is happening with the guidelines of the supreme consciousness. I am the mere appointed person for it. That is what Shri Krishna said in the tum nimit mat ही बन. हे अर्जुन, उन मेरे में चित्त को लगाने वाले प्रेमी भक्तों में का मैं शीघ्र ही मृत्यु रूप संसार समुद्र से उद्धार करने वाला होता हूँ. So he is saying, Arjun, such people who invest and dedicate themselves to that form. Everything that they do in their life, every action, every act, every emotion, every duty, every achievement, even every failure, when it is dedicated and offered it at my feet at all times, when the time I soon take them out of this cycle of my life and death, from this Mrityu Loka. Where we live, it is called as Mrityu Loka because it is one thing is certain here, whoever has taken birth will die. So that's why it's called Mrityu Loka. So he says, I take them out of this realm of Mrityu Loka. इसीलिए है अर्जुन, तू मेरे में मन को लगा और मेरे में ही बुद्धि को लगा, इसके उपरांत तू मेरे में ही निवास करेगा, अर्थात मेरे को ही प्राप्त होगा, इसमें कुछ भी संशय नहीं है. So he is telling Arjun, you dedicate your mind to me, you dedicate your intelligence to me, then you will live in me, and therefore you will reach me only. There is no doubt about that. यदि तू मेरे को मेरे में अचल स्थापन करने के लिए सामर्थ नहीं है तो हे अर्जुन, अभ्यास रूप योग के द्वारा मेरे को प्राप्त होने के लिए इच्छा कर. Now you will ask, how is it possible that I continuously have thoughts of God, that I'm always remembering God? There are times when I'm not, and that is when we are suffering. We are suffering out of mental depression. We are suffering out of this sense of worthlessness. We are suffering out of this doubt whether I'm worthy enough or not, and that is why we do so many things in our life to achieve that external validation from either friends, family, parents, children, spouses, your professional colleagues, your bosses, in general people. But where is that vacuum come from? That vacuum comes from the sense of lack of love, that love which we are not receiving from ourselves. And where is that love oozing from? That love is oozing from the source. It's so much love. It is so much love that is enough for everyone. Like sometimes we say, no, do you love me? I love you so much. Do you love me? And if the person says no, we say, oh, I feel so let down. Instead of that, we should say, don't worry. My love is enough. It is so abundant. It is enough for the two of us. So I don't need your love to feel fulfilled. My love is so much. We say that to our children, don't we? Many times we feel that, oh, they are not reciprocating the amount of warmth and love and affection we are doing. Or maybe, let's say, our parents. Sometimes they are not able to. They are not in a position to reciprocate our love and affection. Our siblings, our brothers and sisters, our colleagues, our friends. Not everyone is always oozing with love. But if you are always oozing with this source of love within you, then you are not feeling at least deprived. You're not feeling the lack of it at least. Maybe you're having enough for the world. That is what happens to people who have achieved this level of compassion, that they are not only able to give compassion to themselves, they are also able to overflow it to others who need it. There are many people like that. For example, the Dalai Lama. There are many others who are not just, and these are the figures we know. They are the known people. But there are many people you will see within your own family, you will see within your own community. There are people who are so happy and peaceful with themselves, and their happiness and their peace and their love emanates from them, goes beyond them and emanates into their immediate family, and then it grows beyond that also. It emanates into their immediate society, their neighbors, their immediate, whoever they talk to. They're not going to give that love doses to people, but whoever comes in contact with them can feel that love, then feel that receptivity, that non-judgmental attitude from them, that sweetness from them, that pleasantness from them. That is why we say some people, संतों के पास और क्या होता है? संतों के पास वो presence होती है, that love is there, unconditional, beautiful feeling. That's what Shri Krishna is saying. You think of me, तुम मन को मेरे में लगा. You bring your heart, your feelings to me. You bring your knowledge, your बुद्धि को मेरे में लगा, your intelligence to me, and then you will reside in me, and then you will reach me. तो मुझे ही प्राप्त कर गएगा. And if you're not able to put this vacillating mind always in me, which most of us feel that way, then what is the solution? Then abhyas, practice. That is why most of the meditators, most of the people who are into who have achieved certain level of enlightenment, they say practice, practice, practice every day. Any subject also we are not good at, don't we tell our children practice, practice, practice? It is only till you don't practice you fear a subject. You think, are, you feel reluctant towards it. You say, I aata hi nahi hai, so I don't like it, or I don't like this subject because I don't know this subject. But as they start taking baby steps towards understanding it on everyday basis, slowly the same thing becomes easy. When it becomes easy, it becomes interesting. When it becomes interesting, you get more and more proficient towards it. It becomes your passion. You start loving it. So that is what he's saying, abhyas. यदि तू ऊपर कहे हुए अभ्यास में भी असमर्थ है तो केवल मेरे लिए कर्म करने ही प्रयायन हो. So how nicely Shri Krishna is telling step by step. Number one is that you think of me all the time, no matter what you are doing, dedicate it to me. If you can't do it, try to practice doing it. Every day try to remember me. So every day if you try to practice doing it, maybe morning, evening, then you'll develop a practice. Through practice you'll develop a habit. Now for example, you're not even able to develop that practice. You don't have time to dedicate to me, you don't have time to remember me every day, and therefore do practice for me. Then what he's saying, you just do your karma. सिर्फ मेरे लिए कर्म करने के ही परायण हो. नो नीड टू प्रे टू मी एवरी डे. By praying to Krishna only you will form a habit of praying. Then you will be able to pray at every moment. He's saying even if you are not able to develop that practice, just in any work you're doing, just dedicate that work to me. What does that mean? स्वार्थ को त्याग कर. परायण means स्वार्थ को त्याग कर तथा परमेश्वर को ही परम आश्रय और परम गति समझकर निष्काम प्रेम भाव से सती शिरोमणि पतिव्रता स्त्री की भांति मन, वाणी और शरीर द्वारा परमेश्वर के लिए ही यज्ञ, दान तथापि संपूर्ण कर्तव्य कर्मों को करने का नाम भगवत अर्थ काम करने के परायण होना है. सो व्हाट ही सेज, इफ यू कांट डू अभ्यास, इफ यू कांट डू प्रैक्टिस ऑफ माय नेम, and which therefore you cannot bring it to everyday life, only thing you do is when you're doing any work, when you're going to your office, just think, I am going to office because this is my devotion towards God. For a beautician, when she is cutting someone's hair, if she does it, this is my job, this is my profession, this is my way to reach God. Even if she says that and doesn't pray, doesn't do any chanting, doesn't go to temples, doesn't, he's saying, and niswarth, nishkam karam bhav, doing your job and not always saying, okay, now since I'm doing this, what will I get as a return? I am doing such a great job in my office, when will I get my next promotion? That attitude, if we can leave and rather focus more on how we do our duty, that is what Shri Krishna is saying, that kind of karma is also sufficient. इस प्रकार मेरे अर्थ कर्मों को करता हुआ भी मेरी परम प्राप्ति रूप सिद्धि को ही प्राप्त होगा. So this way you are just doing things for the purpose of earning. So he's saying even if you do when you do your other daily activities this way, that I am doing it in the service of God, that itself will also make you reach me. That is such an easy way to reach me. और यदि इसको भी करने के लिए असमर्थ है तो केवल जीते हुए मन वाला और मेरे प्राप्ति रूप योग की शरण हुआ सब कर्मों के फल का मेरे लिए त्याग कर. And he's saying even if you can't do that you do anything like in karma, when he's giving an example of doing karma for him by saying that this I'm doing for God, I dedicate it to God, I will not ask from my side anything, whatever God provides me as a return or reward will be what totally acceptable to me. Even if you can't do that, then he's saying just say that whatever I'm doing it in the name of God. Even if that you can do, that will be enough. क्योंकि मर्म को ना जानकर किए हुए अभ्यास से परोक्ष ज्ञान श्रेष्ठ है। और परोक्ष ज्ञान से मुझ परमेश्वर के स्वरूप का ध्यान श्रेष्ठ है, तथा ध्यान से भी सब कर्मों का फल मेरे लिए त्याग करना श्रेष्ठ है, और त्याग से तत्काल ही परम शांति होती है। So he's saying that in the last one he said that you do any work, you leave the fruits, you get rid of the desire for fruit. Can you even do just this much? The highest level is, he said, that can you remember me, dedicate your mind, intelligence to me, then you will live in me, and through me you will be able to, through living in me you will reach me. If you can't do that, just practice remembering me every day and do a dedicated practice to me every day. Through that practice, slowly you will be able to invest your mind, your feelings and your intelligence to me. If you can't even do dedicated practice every day, try to do all your karma thinking that these are the karmas I am doing for the God, I am doing and going to dedicate it to God, and I'm going to do it without any desire for the fruits. So whatever fruits will come are acceptable to me. If you can't even do that, then whatever you get as a fruit, then at least stop attaching yourself to the fruits of the labor only after doing your job, even if you can do that. So these are 4 level steps that Shri Krishna is explaining, that if you can do that, because he's saying without understanding a disease, he's giving an example that if you don't know what really is the problem, so for example, if you have pain in the body or if you have fever in the body, now fever is a very general indication, it doesn't give a specific diagnosis. So he's saying without having a real diagnosis, it is he's saying without knowing specifically what is the diagnosis, it is better to do at least some study of it. Okay, what are the symptoms? Even if you don't know the full diagnosis, exact diagnosis, slightly better than that is that if you at least know these symptoms, have some learner knowledge. If you don't know, if you can learn it and then do something about it, that is one step better than completely just berserkly going and taking medication. At least trying to figure out what these symptoms are trying to tell. Maybe I need to take this medicine, and then based on the symptoms you take medicine. That is still better. So that is like having little learned understanding is better than having no understanding at all. And परोक्ष ज्ञान, learned understanding is what is परोक्ष ज्ञान, और परोक्ष ज्ञान से मुझ परमेश्वर के स्वरूप का ध्यान श्रेष्ठ है. So he's saying little understanding or a learned understanding through books is better, but actually sitting in meditation and trying to realize God through visualization is higher than reading even books. Then he's saying next level is that whatever acts you do in life, whatever actions you do, as a result you get some benefits, some results, then all those giving up the fruits of your karma to God is even higher than realizing God through visualization and meditation, and that is higher than learning about God through textbooks or learned understanding. So one base level is to try to know God through learned understanding. Second level is to sit and then try to realize God within. Then another higher level is to whatever actions we do. It is impossible for us to not do karma, right? That's what Shri Krishna said in the first chapter itself. Everyone is doing karma all the time. whatever fruits we bear out of it, giving up the desire for the fruit or giving up the fruits of your labor in the feet of God श्रेष्ठ है और त्याग से ही तत्काल परम शांति होती है. And when we do that, that is what gives us the eternal bliss. Imagine when you know that all that I achieve is for God, then there is no competition that how much I have achieved, whatever I have achieved, and there's no shame also. There's neither not a feeling of ego that I've achieved so much, neither there is shame I've achieved so little. Whatever I have achieved, whatever has been the fruits of my labor, my hard work, my efforts, the efforts should be full. But whatever is achievement, if it is dedicated to God, then that is the param shanti, that is the highest level of peace one can get. इस प्रकार शांति को प्राप्त हुआ जो पुरुष सब भूतों में द्वेष भाव से रहित एवं स्वार्थ रहित, सबका प्रेमी और हेतु रहित दयालु है तथा ममता से रहित एवं अहंकार से रहित, सुख दुख की प्राप्ति में सम और क्षमावान है, अर्थात अपराध करने वाले को भी अभय देने वाला है. So he is saying, when you are of that state of mind, now imagine when you are not doing anything to get personal benefits, personal gratification, personal glory. If everything is the glory of God, God's benefits, God's dedication, if that is why you're doing, then obviously that person will slowly with a period of time, if you're living like that, if your life is dedicated to living like that, automatically in all times, in sab bhuto mein, in all times, in all states, you will be without any jealousy. You will have no you're not competing with anyone because you're doing your best anyway. And whatever you receive, you dedicate it to God. So why will you have any competition with anyone? You will not have any jealousy towards anyone. Why somebody else is achieving, you will not even bother about it. I mean, you will not even praise it because it's not your business, it's their business. Let them do their best and dedicate their best with their consciousness to God. And you do your best and you dedicate your best to God. Let everyone do that. So where is the competition here? Where is the jealousy? And you are without any vested interest. There is no vested interest. So such person will have no vested interest, loves everyone equally, and it has empathy for everyone equally, is not having personal attachment to anyone, has no ego, and feels equal in the happiness and pleasure. Because when you say everything that I receive as a result of my karma is dedicated to God, whether it is sadness, pleasure, failure, success, all is dedicated to God. So then you don't really feel any personal attachment to even your failures. It is possible like that. It's not just words. Actually, if you live like that and if you understand this and try to practice it, every time you're facing something of that situation, try to remember these shlokas and try to just tell yourself. You'll actually instantly feel much better. If you're really going through some low phase, or if you're going through very high phase also, it will level you back. You won't feel too high about yourself. You don't feel too much ego about yourself. It actually is a very leveling learning. Sukh dukh, happiness and pleasure all seems alike, and very kshamavan, a lot more compassionate, which means even if someone does them bad, they feel like it's easy to forgive. They don't hold on to things. अर्थात अपराध करने वाले को भी अभय देने वाला. Now when somebody does something wrong to you, how do you deal with it? You want to revenge, you want to make them feel bad. But if you forgive them, that is what Shri Krishna is talking about. A person who is in bhakti yoga is dedicating everything to God. Everything that is happening, they do their best in karmas. But the fruit is not what they are dedicating to themselves. The credit, even the enjoyment, they are dedicating it to God. So with that, what comes? These virtues comes. That you're able to forgive. You're able to feel normal in every circumstance. You're able to not have any jealousy towards anyone. You're able to let go of your ego. You're also able to forgive and give no fear. Abhay means no fear to a person who's done something wrong to you. Of course, if someone has done something wrong to you, they have a sense of fear towards you. But if you're able to give them that sense of no fear, that is what quality you get automatically develop within yourself when you're in the form of bhakti yoga. These are the benefits, these are the virtues that start cultivating. तथा जो ध्यान योग में युक्त हुआ, निरंतर लाभ हानि में संतुष्ट तथा मन और इंद्रियों सहित शरीर को वश में किए हुए मेरे में दृढ़ निश्चय वाला है, मैं मेरे में अर्पण किए हुए मन बुद्धि वाला मेरा भक्त मेरे को प्रिय है. So he's saying with all these qualities one who has, that person is so lovable to me. जिससे कोई भी जीव उद्वेग को प्राप्त नहीं होता है, जो स्वयं भी किसी जीव से उद्वेग को प्राप्त नहीं होता है, और जो हर्ष अमर्ष भय और उद्वेग आदिकों से रहित है, वह भक्त मेरे को प्रिय है. Now he is explaining the qualities of who that bhakt, how that devotee is. What are the qualities? How that kind of a devotee looks like to everyone. That person will not be able to give anger, will not be able to make anyone will not be provoking anyone, and neither he gets provoked or she gets provoked by anyone. So the provocation or anger or jealousy or all these low qualities, they don't bring it in other people, and those qualities nobody brings in them because of the virtue of how peaceful they become. That sense of peace, that sense of pleasantness with them is the reason why anyone around them is not created, they don't create disturbance in the hearts and minds of others around them, neither others can create that for them. And these people don't become harsh, means in the times of rejoicing, and in the times of sorrow, in times of fear, or no anger towards anyone, and nobody makes them angry. So like that they're a very peaceful existence, very still existence, and they also make everyone around them very peaceful. That bhakt, that devotee is so lovable to me. जो पुरुष आकांक्षा से रहित और भीतर बाहर से शुद्ध, और चतुर हैं, अर्थात जिस काम के लिए आया था उसको पूरा कर चुका है, एवं पक्षपात से रहित और दुखों से छूटा हुआ है, वह सर्व अभ्यासों का त्यागी, अर्थात मन, वाणी और शरीर द्वारा प्रारब्ध से होने वाले संपूर्ण स्वाभाविक कर्मों में कर्तापन के अभिमान का त्यागी मेरे भक्त मेरे को बहुत प्रिय है. So here Shri Krishna is saying, so here when I said harsh, amarsh, harsh means joy and victory, and amarsh means when someone else wins. So both cases mein that person is very 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 happy, very normal, very peaceful. So he's saying that one who is free from desires, one who is free from expectations, not desires, but one who is free from expectations from others, and is pure from inside and outside, not just from outside that they talk sweet, but from deep from inside also. They don't keep any competition with anyone. They are not doing comparisons, they are not feeling bad because someone else has gone better than them and all that, and is clever, arthat clever in the what sense? That they think that for what purpose I had come, I am doing that. They don't take sides of anyone. They don't think that, oh, this one is better, so I'll go with this one is bad, so they know that everyone is doing their best. They know that everyone is working according to their own gunas, and they don't begin anything. They know that they have come here for some purpose, and they just do their job. And through their words, through their body, through their mind, prarabdha, the thing that they were born for, the thing that they were designated for, they try to do all of their natural jobs, like in what family you're born, what education you're getting, now you're got married into what family. They don't try to go against the tide. Whatever is naturally coming into their life, they flow with it, and in that flow they are trying to do their best, and in their peaceful state they are completely in bliss, doing all their duties, all their actions, knowing that there is no ego of doing in them. That kartapan ka abhiman, the ego of the doer is not there, because they know that I'm just an appointed person for the flow of things that are happening, that are my karmas, and I'm just doing my karmas. I do that and I dedicate it to God, and I live in peace. I don't compare myself to anyone, neither do I judge anyone. जो ना कभी हर्षित होता है, ना द्वेष करता है, ना शोच करता है, ना कामना करता है, तथा जो शुभ और शुभ संपूर्ण कर्मों के फल का त्यागी है, वह भक्ति युक्त पुरुष मेरे को प्रिय है. Again and again and again and again he is explaining what is the person who is a devotee, a true bhakti devotee, a person who is a complete deep drenched into bhakti. What are their qualities? Again and again Sri Krishna is repeating these qualities for us to fully absorb, that he says that that person never gets overwhelmed, that person never feels angry or feels bad towards anyone, that person never remorses, doesn't sit and remorse over things, doesn't desire things, doesn't desire, I want now this, now I want this, now I want. They just go with the flow, and who give all their good karmas, all the bad karmas they have done, all the good karmas, the result of that, they just give it up, they just let go of the results. That bhakti yukt, that person who is full of bhakti is most lovable to me. जो पुरुष शत्रु मित्र में और मान अपमान में सम है, तथा सर्दी गर्मी सुख दुख आदि द्वंद्वों में सम है, और सब संसार में आ सकती है. This is exactly what Shri Krishna had told to Arjun. This is yoga. This is the way to union with me. That if you find same feeling towards your enemy and your best friend, whoever you think is your enemy, or whoever, let's say not enemy is a very strong word, or whoever you dislike, if you find the same feeling, if you can behave or be around this the person you dislike and your best friend in the same way, you don't create any difference, you don't feel any difference, you don't do any difference. And in when somebody is appreciating you and when somebody is insulting you, in both times if you feel the same, with friend and with enemy you feel the same. In extreme of weathers, in sardi garmi, in cold weather and in hot weather you feel the same. Sukh dukh adi, in happiness and in sorrow you feel the same. You deep down feel the same. Of course you do different actions to take care of your circumstances, but you feel the same. The feeling I'm saying, that you're peaceful in all these stages, whether you are with a friend, whether you are with enemy, you are at peace. Whether you are with whether someone is respecting you or praising you in heaps, or when someone is insulting you and derogating you, you are at peace. Whether there is so much extreme heat, so much of cold, you are at peace. Whether there is happiness going on in your life, great things happening in your life, or something really wrong is going on in your life, things are going upside down, you are at peace. Some hai. And in everyone around you, you are not attached. You're not attaching yourself personally to them. That person तथा जो निंदा स्तुति को समान समझने वाला और मननशील है, अर्थात ईश्वर के स्वरूप का निरंतर मनन करने वाला है, one who doesn't talk behind someone's back. Ninda means to to speak about somebody, ill about somebody, who doesn't do that. And like if somebody is talking ill, for example, is someone talking ill about me versus someone is singing praises of me. Stuti means someone prays to me, someone thinks that I am like divine human being, whereas another person thinks I am such a toxic person and they are speaking only bad things about me. In both stages, remaining same and peaceful, considering these two as same, को समान समझने वाला, निंदा और स्तुति को समान समझने वाला, considering your own praise and your own disrespect or ninda or bad words about you, bad mouthing about you as completely same. मननशील, ईश्वर के रूप का निरंतर मनन करने वाला, always remembering God in the heart, एवं जिस जिस प्रकार से भी शरीर का निर्वाह होने में सदा ही संतुष्ट है और रहने के स्थान में ममता से रहित है, वह स्थिर बुद्धि वाला भक्तिमान पुरुष मेरे को प्रिय है. And in all circumstances they feel comfortable and they are not too attached to where they should stay. I want to only stay in best places, I want to only stay in comfort, I want to only stay. Who wants to stay in discomfort? But one who is equally comfortable even in discomfort, doesn't attach too much themselves to where they are staying, what they are doing, not so stuck up with these things. That person is lovable to me, because that means they have been able to rise above these things. This is exactly what Shri Krishna is trying to say, that these things are very petty, these things are very, very low frequency. They lower our frequency and they take us away from the godliness. Godliness is a very light and very, very gentle frequency. It doesn't bother about these things. These are very petty things. So he's saying that person is lovable to me. And again in every shloka, if you will see it, he's trying to bring the contrast and saying one who's happy with this and this, who's peaceful with this and this, who finds this and this same. So in a way, Shri Krishna is saying that a person who is basically equanimous, और जो मेरे परायण हुए, अर्थात मेरे को परम आश्रय और परम गति एवं सबका आत्म रूप और सबसे परे परम पूज्य समझकर विशुद्ध प्रेम से मेरी प्राप्ति के लिए तत्पर हुए श्रद्धा युक्त पुरुष इस पर कहे हुए धर्म में अमृत को निष्काम भाव से सेवन करते हैं, वे भक्त मेरे को अतिशय प्रिय हैं. So in the last shloka, Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna, one who has all of these beautiful qualities developed in them, they, keeping their mind, spirit and body dedicated to me, knowing that I am the source, knowing that I am the place they will go back to, knowing that I am the creator, knowing that I am making this nature have this interaction with them and this opportunity to do their karma, knowing all this and doing that with supreme level of love and devotion and compassion and Nishkam Karm Yog feeling, in which they do actions, but they do actions with complete dedication to God without attaching any attention or thought process towards the result of what they are doing. So actions are pure, and that is what they are bothered about. They don't bother about the results. With that feeling, those who live and conduct themselves in this world, they are my most beautiful and most loved devotees. With this, the Bhakti Yoga, the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is over, and having said that, I would also say this is the last chapter of the middle 6 chapters, which is also called the meat, the essence, the Gupta Gyan, the hidden knowledge within Bhagavad Gita. And I hope I have been able to successfully, give as much clarification, as much understanding as it is there in the book. And I hope I have been able to transfer that energy onto you through this chapter, because this is Bhakti Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga has got nothing to do with explanations and all. It is to do with understanding and knowing and feeling within yourself. I hope you've been able to connect yourself to this supreme consciousness through this chapter. And if you have been able to, then I would think that this is the reward. This is the reward that I think the whole consciousness is wanting us all to have. And I'm with you in this journey, and I'm really enjoying this journey. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you so much for going through the chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita. And I'm so excited to bring to you the 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is called as Kshetra Vibhag Yoga. And it's very, very interesting. And it is about the concept of karma. It is about it's a very beautiful chapter and very, very practical chapter, because as we are going towards the essence, the ending of Bhagavad Gita, slowly from essence we are moving back to application and living Bhagavad Gita into our daily lives. If I've been able to bring your enthusiasm towards learning Bhagavad Gita, understanding it as a text, understanding it as a way of life, I am so glad, and I'm so grateful to God, because it's only because of the grace of God I've been able to create these videos. And thank you so much for watching. And let's end this beautiful video by chanting these 2 wonderful Maha Mantras and leave this with a very positive energy to start chapter 13 soon in my next video. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.